Hello, friends, intermediate algebra students. So I apologize, this is Ms. Baxter, and I am not going to be in class today. So I wanted to make sure I did a quick review video with a practice. Before you go ahead and start working on the practice problems, remember we are still going to do our quiz on Friday. And so then after Friday, we will be done with our factoring for a while, and we'll be moving back into graphing quadratics in standard form. So I want to do a quick review. Remember, solving by factoring means you have to, oops, sorry, I don't know why okay, here we go. My thing was not working. Okay, solving. Okay, now it's not doing it again, you guys. What's wrong with my thing? Solving by, there we go, factoring. When I say the word solve, you gotta find your x's, okay? And remember, I briefly talked about this, but when we're finding our x's, what are we actually finding? Because as soon as we have a problem with x squared, we know it's a quadratic, it's a parabola, all right? Which means I'm going to be finding where my parabola crosses my x-axis. Okay, so for example, we have this parabola right here. All right, when I'm solving, I'm actually finding my x's here and my x here. Okay, all right, so on your little scratch paper here and your warm-up sheet, I want you to take notes while you're doing this. You can use this as an example while you're working on your assignment for today. All right, so the first problem that we're going to look at is kind of a twofer. So this problem is 5x squared minus 45 equals 0. All right, well, step one was to make sure that your equation is equal to 0. So in this case, it's nice, it's equal to 0. And the second thing I'm going to do is factor it. Okay, so the first kind of factoring, what do we look for? Well, the first one is GCF. So let's try that. All right, well, if I compare 5 and 45, what am I going to divide by? Well, I think my GCF is 5, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull out my 5, and I'm left over with, well, 5 divided by 5 leaves us with x squared minus 9. Okay, now this one's a little bit of a trick question because step 2, the second kind of factoring, is what? Difference of squares. Difference of squares is something like this. You have to have two terms, right? And there's always difference means negative. Well, I have two terms, x squared minus 9, and they're both squares. So if I split this out, I have x, and I have 3 and 3, right? So I can do x plus 3, x minus 3. Let's not forget, this still equals 0, okay? All right, from here, you guys should know what to do. Okay, we're going to do my little choo. All right, I'm going to split this up, and I have now x plus 3 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. Remember, you have to do PEMDAS when we're solving for an unknown. We don't know what x is. Start with addition, subtraction, and do the opposite. Okay, so if I have x plus 3 equals 0 right here, then I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides of my equal sign, and I'm left with x equals negative 3 on the one side. And then on my other equation, plus 3, I'm left with x equals positive 3. Lovely, lovely. So that is the first problem with the review. Okay, let's try a trinomial where we have to factor by grouping. So on the second problem, problem number 2, 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 equals 0. All right, well, when you're looking at this problem, what's the very first thing you need to make sure is done? Well, hopefully you said it's equal to 0. Yep, this problem is equal to 0. Next, you're going to have to factor. So what's a times c? Well, remember, here is your A, here is your B, here is your C. So A times C in this instance is 2 times -3, which is equal to -6. Okay, now I'm going to look under and say, what are my factors of -6? Well, I know 1, 6, 2, 3, and that's it. Okay, well, it has to add to B. Well, our B is what? -5 right here. All right, so there's 2 different numbers. They both can get 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Okay. I would choose the first one first to see if I could get it to -5, and I sure can if I do 1 and -6. So if we split the middle, let's see, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to have 2x squared plus my 1x minus 6x minus 3. Okay, does everybody see that? And now I'm going to factor by grouping. So group here, group here. I feel like you guys are really good at this now. So go ahead and start factoring. If you want, put a pause on the video really quick. Try to solve this on your own, and then come back and see if you got the same answer as I did. Okay, so pause the video and then come back. Okay, so hopefully you solved it really quick here. I'm going to do it lickety-split, super fast. If you don't agree or I'm not sure how I got certain numbers, then please, please, please let me know. So then my final answer is, not final, but x minus 3. All right, so now, remember, it's still equal to 0. So what we're going to do is now we're going to go choo, choo. All right, if you haven't done this part, I want you to pause the video, and I want to see if you can solve for x on your own again. Okay, hopefully you paused the video and solved, okay? But what we're going to do right now is I'm going to super fast solve by setting each side equal to 0. In this instance, I'm going to have 2x is equal to -1. Divide both sides. One of these is equal to -1/2. The other one is going to be equal to 3. Because if I go, 3 minus 3 equals 0. These are my favorite ones. So, all right, that is a good quick review with today's practice. If you still have questions after that, let me know, okay? I will be back tomorrow when we can work on these again and do one more review before our quiz on Friday.